So I did the math. I think if we went for a week, flights and everything else for 4 of us. You figure it's like $750 a night just for the hotel. Then $180 a day for park tickets. It's not cheap. Will you grab me one, please?
Yeah, but it was fine because Will and I were talking back and forth, so it was fun.
Ready? 7 o'clock. Good evening. I'd like to call the Ferrysburg City Council meeting to order. Monday, October 3rd, 2022, 7 p.m. Ferrysburg City Hall, 17520 Ridge Avenue, Ferrysburg, Michigan. Roll call, please.
Here, please.
Here.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Here.
Councilmember Sias.
Here.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Here.
Councilmember Kate.
Here.
Invocation by Councilmember Kate. Please rise, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious God, we thank you so much for the day now past, and we ask your blessings on the evening ahead, especially on those gathered here. We pray for your blessing, your hand of blessing on each and every one and their families and all the people that we represent. We ask this in your name. Amen.
And allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under
Okay, number 5, public comments. This time on the agenda is for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to the City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. And after being recognized by the mayor, please give your name, address for the record, and proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Yes, Regina?
Regina Schoberg, 17542 Parkwood Drive. It's clear to me after the last meeting that we have a power behind the throne here in Ferrysburg. Woe to you if you don't abide by the fearless leader's choices. I guess all of you are wankers except for Mr. Blease and Mr. O'Donnell. What's happening in Ferrysburg indicates an undercurrent of deception and manipulation that first and foremost is undermining proper council and government procedures. This isn't about being civil or not respecting other people's opinions. This is about process. Actually, anyone who disagrees with the status quo is claiming to be uncivil and rude. To me, this is not divisiveness. This is rebellion. We're mad as hell and we're not going to take any more. Procedural violations include a recreational commission member who unilaterally tried to submarine a grant, disparaging the commission and the grant expert in the process. The same recreation commission member and council member trying to bypass council for some kind of bike path project. An economic task force member who tries to have a joint meeting of an ad hoc sunsetting committee with the Brownfield Development Group, and the Brownfield Development guy, Tim Scarpino, knows nothing about what it is. The vilification of PC applicants, Schoberg and Sterling. Finally, and most egregiously, the purloined letterhead incident of summer 2021, when Karen O'Donnell sent a letter to churches, teachers, and police officers saying, "We are in the process of creating a Safe Child Initiative group in Safe Child City." This was sent on city letterhead and included Councilmember O'Donnell's city email address as a contact. This agency never existed. Ferrysburg did not support that child safety city. It did have a resolution like it does for trees and teachers and libraries, but it had no agency committed. This is fraud, and it's misuse of position as far as I'm concerned. Nothing happened. We don't have an ethics policy. So the answer to me is that you develop an ethics policy. I'm not a big fan of the Michigan Municipal League, but they do have some good resources. And if you go to their site, you will find out how to set up an ethics ordinance, as a home rule government can enact an ethics ordinance without specific charter provision authorizing them to do so. You set up a board also that reviews these kinds of things, and I'm asking you to do that ASAP. Redundant politicians are desperate and will always try to circumvent proper procedure in order to attain their goals, whether they be power, revenge, or political prestige. Citizens and their families should not become the collateral damage of these frustrated politicos. The creation of an ethics ordinance would serve as a touchstone of a city government that serves all people in an open and transparent manner, not controlled by puppeteers and political alliances. 5 of you are doing a good job, and I thank you for that. I know it's not easy to be attacked. One more little tidbit. My husband did not, as Hop claimed, harass Joe Lyons. He confronted him about a nasty sexual comment which I put on your desk. Nobody should have to put up with that. If you have a wife, a daughter, a sister, or a mother, and somebody sent that to you on Facebook or any forum, something should be done about it. As for me, I'm not allowing my family or myself to put up with this stuff anymore. Nobody should have to go through this. Not Sandy Tuggle, not Lisa Royce, not Jake Sturley, not me, and not you. Thank you.
Any more public comment? Joe Lyons in the back. Then we get sir.
Joe Lyons, 16857 Virginia Avenue in Ferrysburg, Michigan. Welcome. Well, it's always fun to come to a council meeting and have yourself besmirched just a little bit more by Ms. Regina. Let me tell you something about this comment that was made. Mr. Peter Soberg, when I arrived at a council meeting, I think it was about a month ago, I don't know exactly the date, I'll bring it back up if you care, accused me of posting pictures of my genitalia on the internet. I don't know where the hell that was coming from, but hey, Peter's Peter. And what can we say? But as we were proceeding into the council meeting, I mentioned to Ms. Soberg that I thought her husband was quite prophetic in his comments, and her comment back to me was, "He always supports my feelings." Well, isn't that sweet? So come on. We're trying to make this a fine community where people get along. We just don't get along with you. You know that? Thanks. I did direct that. I didn't direct that to the council. I directed that to individuals here. Thank you very much for the time. Hope I haven't overrun my 3 minutes.
That was first, Pete.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Knoll, 15075 State Road, Spring Lake, Michigan. I'm coming before the council today because I am actually personally invested and interested in the city clerk treasurer position. Unfortunately, I haven't had the success in getting past the city manager in advancing the consideration of my application. When reviewing the person that's supposed to be appointed today, their credentials, there's a pretty significant difference in experience and education that I believe that the council should actually bring into consideration when considering Ms. Shaner. It does appear to me that, you know, let me go back. Back in 2010, when I was hit hardest by the recession, my stepdad gave me advice, and he said, work hard, prove yourself, and the doors will open for you. When he told me that, I went to Grand Rapids Community College, and in my first semester, 4.0, and I pushed myself. What else can I do? 4.0 again, but this time, I'm going to enroll in the honors program. I'm gonna raise the bar for me. 4.0 again. I'm gonna raise the bar again. I'm gonna run for vice president of Student Congress. I'm going to create a student organization on campus. I'm gonna help the people run the food pantry. I'm gonna get involved with Guiding Light. I'm gonna get involved with Feeding America. I kept raising the bar because I had higher expectations for myself. And I wanted to prove to the world that if you put in the hard work and you prove yourself, the doors will open. And so I graduated top of my class, Delta Pi Alpha, with honors from Greenwich Community College with a degree in business administration. And then 3 months later, I graduated again, Delta Pi Alpha again, with honors and a degree in economics. I applied to all the top schools in the country, Stanford, Berkeley, USC, and I also applied to Arizona State University because they're a top 30 business school. And I was one of the fortunate people to actually get into their business law program, which is actually a hybrid degree between both their top 25 law schools, Sandra Day O'Connor, and the W.P. Carey School of Business. And when I got out, I was an executive of online sales for Grubhub, at the top of the company. And then the pandemic came through, and once again, things that were out of my control completely threw my life into upheaval. But I didn't give up hope. I gave up the thought that I'm not entitled to anything. If I want it, I have to pursue it, and I have to go in front of the right people, present myself, and the qualifications that I've worked hard for. And I don't think that the city manager has given me a fair shot. And when I've reviewed Ms. Shaner's qualifications, there is a significant gap. I have 20 years of professional work experience. I've managed over 240 employees, over thousands of sales territories across the United States. I have 20 years of professional work experience, 7 in management, 4 in sales, 3 in IT. And I got to those positions because I never gave up on myself. And when I was told that I was no longer in consideration, I had to give it a shot and come before the council today in hopes that you would take a look at my resume and my qualification to see if it does stack up to Ms. Shaner, so that way you have an informed decision before committing to somebody that may or may not have the right qualifications to meet your needs. And with that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Noel.
I have one question. Are you a resident of the city of Ferrysburg?
I am not at this time. I am over in Spring Lake, but the Tri-Cities community, this is important to me. I came back when the pandemic hit. The first opportunity I came back here because this is my community. This is home to me, and my family lives here. My friends are here. I grew up here. I went to Spring Lake High School. I was the class of 2004. Even though we may not be in the same city, I still care about Ferrysburg just as much as anybody else.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. Pete, you had something?
Peter Schoberg, 17542 Parkwood Drive. I did not say Joe Lyons posted pictures of his genitalia. And Rebecca Hopp, I understand, chastised 2 of you who didn't go to his defense. Thank you. I appreciate 5 of you who are up there. What Joe Lyons did do here, I don't know, did you have a copy of this? He talked about his penis. He has a name for his penis too. He calls his penis Joe. It's a screenshot. I didn't say anything about pictures.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask for a point of order here. You should be addressing issues to the council and not attacking public or other citizens. Please do not. Please.
Order. Okay.
Okay.
Order.
All right.
No,
Let's have some order here.
Most of us were out there that evening. We know exactly what happened. You don't have to come in front of us to defend yourself. We know what's going on.
Well,
and for Joe that as well, we're all aware of the situation, and we I just don't see where this is a city council matter at this point.
well, it is, because We have a mayor who's been trying to push Joe Lyons onto the planning commission. We have an ex-mayor who put him on the library board. We have an ex-mayor who put him on as an alternate for the planning not the planning commission, the Board of Appeals. He plays Santa Claus. The guy's a pervert. He shouldn't be talking to our children.
That's my view on it, is you keep referring to as ex-mayor, and she is the ex-mayor, and she no longer serves on this council, so it's kind of not in our jurisdiction. I mean, there's nothing we can do
Okay, I don't
to-
expect you to do anything about it except
Yeah.
maybe look at the people who are trying to submarine our government. You know who chastised me out there? Tim O'Donnell. He chastised me. And
Gotta all learn to get along, all of us. There's so many deep wounds here, and it goes way back, and, you know.
I know, should
but-
I get
but
along
we-
with the pervert?
No, but maybe avoid him would be your best option.
That's been what I've tried to do for the last 20 years.
I know.
Since he got me kicked out of a council meeting.
I know.
And he's been pissed ever since. And he's been going after my wife because she led the recall. Way back. Yes, and we've had enough of it. I think people in Ferrysburg should start coming to council meetings and seeing what's going on.
Pete, I think that the council's starting to reflect that. I think the
five
city
of
is,
you up there are doing a good job.
that's right, and I think the city's seeing that, and I think the council's starting to reflect that, and thanks to you and your.
Thank
patronage.
you, and thank 5 of you for doing the job that you're doing.
Jeff, are you sure you still want that position?
Okay.
Making some light, yeah.
Any more public comment? The guy right there.
Good evening, Dennis Cron, 18968 North Shore Drive. I wanted to mention that I would have some comments at the agenda item for the proposed study that was submitted by Progressive. So if that's the appropriate time, I can keep my comments.
Yep. Okay, yep.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dennis. All right, Lisa, did you have anything?
17700 Navajo. I'm kind of confused. Is this gentleman here applying for the planning?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, not another
No.
one.
No.
I just missed that. So I was like, oh, God.
Okay, any more public comment? Yes, Ben, come on up.
Ben Ainsworth, 19143 North Shore Road. At these meetings, I used to give you a count of, from my breakfast table, 6 days, I came up with 168 speeders and 36 slow drivers. I would like to go a little bit further. There's a young couple that moved across the street from me about 2 years ago. They remodeled the house, did a lot of work. However, this is moved to Chicago. Came to me. Press home. Now allow her children, doesn't have to go out the front door and check on, see if there's about them getting the road. City of River here, Spring Lake, beautiful. God, people are scared of buying a home and living in some place that traffic is terrific. Now, children take not in seats that she terrified of crossing North Shore Road to go to the beach after. Have to look down and make sure somebody with 200 yards or so on the road so get across safely. Same thing coming back.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comment? Hearing none, moving on. Number 6, consideration for approval consent agenda. A, approve the September 19th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes as printed. B, approve Mayor Pro Tem O'Donnell as the city's voting delegate at the Municipal League annual meeting.
Your Honor, I move that move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion support. Further discussion?
Your Honor, what's being voted on at the MML annual meeting?
At the convention, the Board of Trustees meets and they vote on their goals and expectations for the next year, what they're gonna work on, similar to what we do.
So do you have the specifics of those, or?
I don't have those specifics at this time, no.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just concerned we're voting, we're giving you voting rights. We don't know what you're voting on or what's being voted on. I don't know if there's time to table it.
It's, there's nothing that is legally binding for the city. It's the same as what we do every year when we set our goals and the issues that we want to accomplish throughout the year. And this is what the Board of Trustees does. I or Mayor Hop, we have been on the, a member of the, a delegate to the Board of Trustees for the last 6 years. And their goals are pretty much the same with just some minor updates for the year. It's nonpartisan. MML is a nonpartisan.
Now you're saying that it's similar to what it's been in the past, and we still don't have details, right? I'm curious about the details.
I can send you whatever information I can get when it's available. That usually doesn't come out until a week or so before the convention. I haven't checked the last couple of days. I've been busy with other issues. Nothing that would bind this. It is not anything that legally binds or the city to any issues. Just one, Your Honor.
Yes.
Rebecca has.
Oh, yes. Rebecca, you want to come up to the mic and maybe answer Will's question? I know Tim always gives a report on what, what the MML, what they, were discussing and all that, so.
Right, MML is a membership based, and the city of Ferrysburg has been a member of MML. Craig, can you help me out? How many years? Many years, right? Many years, and this is an opportunity for the membership to take part in a discussion, ask questions from the floor if need be before the Board of Trustees, and then the information generally is more redefined and it's on your chair, and there's only members that are attending the convention that have been appointed by their governing body are able to be voting delegates. So it's a very small number. And so just Mayor Pro Tem has shared out that this is something that we have done since I was on council under Mayor Ryder, under Jeff Still, that the city, anyone that was going to the annual convention would be a voting delegate. Normally there'd be like 2 or 3 of us that would go, and then it was just one out of that group that was attending would be the voting delegate. So it's just more of a formality than Mayor Pro Tem O'Donnell will not be able to make any drastic changes or to do anything. He's only one vote to represent council. So it's something that we've done for the 14 years I've been on council plus before.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of things we've always done, right? So
Right.
I'm just curious what
Also,
we
if
vote on, or what we're giving him delegation power to vote on.
Each of you received the review magazine. Have you reviewed that of what's going on in the this upcoming convention? It would have already been published there. Some of the ideas, what the trustee has. One year they were dealing with new, they had 6 points that they were bringing to the table. And those had been discussed in articles in the review prior to the convention. So I know that the information's already been out there. There's nobody who's going to be blindsided with this. So, because
I think everybody's going to be blindsided because we don't know what is being voted on.
But my question to you then is, have you been reviewing the review magazine that MML sends to you?
So I have reviewed it, but
Okay.
I'm not a delegate to MML, so no.
But you're a member that you would have the opportunity of going to the convention, correct?
Yeah, sure, I've attended in the
and stuff
past.
like that, people
Yep.
aren't able to go. I understand that. But as a voting delegate, it's one person that's going to the convention that would be able to listen to what's being said. And the main topic is appointing 2 or 3 new trustees to the board that have served on other boards within MML. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem O'Donnell, have you received updates yet? Or you haven't? That's something that you could probably reach out to Kelly or somebody, Emily at the league, that they'd be able to provide you at least a rough draft, because it's just really rough drafts that you're looking at that point going into the meeting.
Right, but I mean, do we know the key topics, Tim, that Ms. Hopp said?
Right now, I could not give you any definite, because I don't have that information before me. And like I said, that's low on my, has been low on my radar the last several weeks. The rest stuff I've had to deal with. Nothing drastic changes. The biggest thing is that I'm representing the city of Ferrysburg before this body.
Right, we want to
And
ensure that Ferrysburg is well represented.
Well, I always do my best to represent the city well in any public forum that I'm in before, and I would. I've never had any problem with it in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will, would you like to submit another name for our delegate for the MLL?
Is anyone else going?
Not that I'm aware of. We've
I
only
can't
paid
go.
one registration fee for Tim.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm just, I guess my concern is we're not prepared tonight and it's a low priority, so are we going to be prepared in a couple weeks?
Tim,
Yes.
when's the convention?
It's the 19th, 20th, and 21st. Like, the reason I'm not totally prepared is I do not have material before me, so I cannot give you
Yeah, we meet again on October 17th.
That would be my ask, is that I have no issue with you doing it if you can give us an update, right? I'll support it next week if, you're able to come in and tell us what it's about. How it impacts city.
It doesn't really impact the city in any major way or minor way. It's just, it's basically like we do, like I said, it's what we do with our city in the beginning of the year with our setting our goals.
I get it. No, but that's my due diligence, right? So I'd feel more comfortable voting on it next time.
It's the point that the nomination for the delegate for the city was due on September 18th. So we're behind the curveball already.
So did we already submit it?
We can still submit it this week, but it was due on the 18th.
Have not yet.
We can get you that information so we can review it at like a work session at the next meeting.
Delegation be rescinded.
I'm sorry?
Can the delegation be rescinded?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. All right, so we had a motion. Did we have a support on that?
Actually, Your Honor, I'm
Yep.
going to have to withdraw because this one of the consent agenda has something to do with me. So it's not proper for me to make a motion. Someone else will have to make a motion.
Okay. Tim will rescind his motion.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, motion, and then Will, did you support the first one? No. Rich, you did.
This is a motion. Is that correct?
Would include 6A and B, but if you want to change it, then we're gonna have to change it. But what Craig is saying is they need the delegate. Yeah, because it was due a month ago. I mean, he always, whoever the delegate is, they give us a report and everything. I don't see any big issue with, at least having the delegate assigned. Okay, so motion support. Any further discussion? Okay. We can do that. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 2 nays. All right, motion carried. Number 7, new business. A, discussion, take action if appropriate to set a date for a public hearing to consider improvements to the Lake Road and to establish a special assessment district to fund the project costs. Craig?
So there's some information in your packet explaining how we got to where we are today. This process for setting up a special assessment is outlined in the city code, city charter. So we have received a petition years back for the Lake Road. We talked to the residents earlier this year a number of times to see if there was still interest in moving forward with that. With the last quote that the residents got, the majority of the residents indicated that their willingness to move forward with the special assessment district. And so if city council is interested in setting up a special assessment district, the first item of business would to schedule a public hearing on the necessity of the special assessment district. And to do that, we need to publish that notice 10 days before the meeting. And so my suggestion would be that we have a scheduled public hearing on November 7th to determine the necessity. And then after that, we would have a public hearing for residents to come and look at the roll and at that time object to the special assessment roll. We've provided based on the estimate cost, a cost estimate for each parcel owner. So we're trying to be as transparent as we can with the cost. And everybody's aware of what there'd be special assessed per parcel at this time.
Yes.
I have a question for Craig.
Okay.
Does this, at this time, would this be locking in the cost, or can we look at other, consider other prices for the paving of, the redoing of the road?
Had a cost estimate prepared by the engineer. The residents received 3 quotes, and they're recommending to go with API asphalt paving. And the asphalt paving has done a lot of work in the city. Staff has no problems using that contractor.
Have to, it would be to consider the cost of the, whatever the 55,200 as opposed to the 285,000.
The special assessment on that quote of 55,200.
Okay.
Craig, is, you know, the big difference is between 285 and 55, of course, that's 230,000. So it looks like no drainage is being proposed in this latest estimate. So I'm sure that's going to be an issue or a big deal to not have any drainage if they redo the road.
No drainage involved, and that's why the quote is a little cheaper, and plus there's no engineer involved.
Your Honor, based upon conversations with a couple of the residents and my own personal survey of the area, I see there's a lot of new construction on there, along that road. One resident did suffer some damage due to some drainage issues. And I would rather us take care of any particular drainage issues at this point instead of going through having the road be paved and then drainage issues come up and have to do like we've done in the past and tear up roads or portions of roads to fix the drainage problem. So I'm going to make a motion that we do not consider the special assessment at this time and take a look at get an engineering opinion on this.
Okay, Tim made a motion. Any support to not approve it?
Your Honor, I mean, we have the majority of residents on this street that want this to happen. So I guess I'm confused on, I mean, I understand, right, water drainage and everything else, but it'll be captured in the final engineering scope, will it not, Craig?
Correct. And if this road gets paved without any structures, the city's not gonna go back in there and fix it on the city's dime.
Sure.
This is a private street. The residents are paying for this improvement.
Right, and the majority of the residents want this. I mean, even if you factor in all the no responses as no's, the majority still votes that they want it.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm making that motion because it does negatively affect multiple residents on that, along that road. And I don't, I'm not going to support something that negatively affects residents in that way. Flood damage is very serious. I'm having problems with it myself.
Yeah, let's, first of all, let's the council talk first, and then we'll open it up to the public.
let us discuss it,
Yeah,
and then we'll
let-
bring everybody
yep.
up. And you-
Well,
we'll definitely
you'll get a
take time.
chance. You'll get a chance, so. Sure.
When the streets were platted, all those lots were platted, and the streets and alleys were dedicated to the property owners in that plat. Correct.
Okay. You guys,
I would love to hear. what
Bill, you have any
residents-
other? All right, Jerry.
Your Honor, the question before us is not whether or not to do the work, but whether or not to
Right.
schedule a hearing. That's all we have to talk about tonight, scheduling a hearing, right?
Right. So it's just for the public hearing, Tim. Not for us to make any decisions yet on moving forward. This is just to
Alright,
schedule the public
Then
hearing.
I will change my, motion to allow for a public hearing on this issue.
Okay, motion support. Further discussion with council first. No? All right, public, the lady, the gal right here. Yep, come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Hillary O'Toole, 1885 Lake. Proper, but to address the fact of drainage, we do have drainage. City, or whatever that, there's been a lot of conversation. Those were put in, they're too low or too high when they were put in. I don't know over the position of those, and that caused some culvert that comes down Royal, that has totally filled up with trees and other debris. Doesn't work as a culvert. So some of those issues, I think, county, we have water and sewer on the street and we have drains on. It said back here that the scope of the project, back at 5,000, add an additional outlet. I'm assuming that the outlet our water can go. So there's a possibility to consider, all the residents have already voted new. Now we've got it down to wanting just the pavement done, because the road is a disaster, and it has been for years. So we're to the point where now we want just pavement. There's something to consider when that gets all ground up and they're ready, companies asphalt. That would be a time to look at city or county responsibility, adding another outlet. Doesn't seem like that would cost near the 300 or the $230,000 difference. No one on that street can afford the $285,000. There's some people right now that will have trouble with, are going to levy, be down to $200 a year taxes. That's much. Write a check. All on the road, understand. Not everybody can. For me, that's something to consider. Are very hopeful to go ahead and road pay. And that drainage that exists right now will have to be a consideration as the road is wrapped around it. We're not going to cover up those drains. Pavement will just around them. All the same drain we've always had. Potential to add another one. Back to the good or 50. but that's something that could be considered from city or county to be responsible. Keep the drainage that we, just the road is can't drive down that road fast 5 miles. Speeding problem. Gonna wreck the car. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Comments over here? Come on up.
16919 Lake Road. Is that all I need? Sorry, this is all
Yeah.
new to me. I am the house that flooded.
Okay.
I definitely know all about flood. And I voted yes on the 285,000. Of course I want it. It's not gonna pass. So at this point, I'm desperate. We're at the very end of the road. We're the second to the, we have put drain tiles around their house, around their garage. We're prepared for extra water that might accumulate, but the 285, it's never gonna pass. We had 4 yeses, so we're nowhere near it. So at this point, like Hillary said, we can't even drive our cars. We've had four pop tires in my family this year alone. So.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Sure.
The other thing you look at is, you know, the drainage that already exists, we all had that 100. This road hasn't been resurfaced or worked on in what, 40 years? Or 1980. We begged the council, Craig knows this, to even come in and put some blacktop to fill in stuff because that 100-year high, the optimal time for that. A bigger problem. It water's up that high. It's going to be a problem for ones. Hasn't been done. Tells us that properties out of that. Everybody voted. I thought they did a great job of coming down 285 at $50,000 with 3 bids, so it's not politically aligned. It's not aligned to any one vendor. It's done for the rest.
Sure. Okay. Okay, over here.
Jane Austin, 16903 Lake Road. We've owned that property there for over 30 years. We need this road. We want this road. We're willing to pay for this road. We need your support to make it affordable for those people who cannot just write a check for it. We would appreciate your support in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comment on this item on Lake Road? Okay, we had a motion, we had support. Further discussion. Oh, yes. Mrs. Hott.
Rebecca Hop, 16868 Cecilia Lane, but we also own property over on Lake Road at 16900. The concern my husband and I have with this, yes, the road definitely needs to be improved. It's horrible. I get it. The flooding, we still get flooding in our small shed because of runoff from neighbor's property. And the quote is that there is a question on here that hasn't been clarified where they talk about removing structures. What structure? Because according to some neighbors, and due to the timeline, we were not able to get our property resurveyed to confirm whether this tree is on our property or in the road right away, because there is a timeline for this to be on tonight's agenda to move forward to get it before the asphalt companies close November 15th. So on the quote, it states that they have, they're not going to be doing any edge work along the way, and also they're talking about discussing removal of adjacent structures as needed. So Are we gonna be charged out for removing this tree? I don't know. Are they gonna tell us that our shed is too close? I don't know. There's not answers to these. So if this can be clarified, that would be wonderful. But I know that the city didn't have any additional information than what we have right here. That's just my concern, because we've had standing water, and because the drainage is so poor down there, we've had standing water in our side yard, water in our shed, have lost equipment in our shed. So it's definitely a concern.
Any more? Did you, Heidi Kramer? Yeah, sure. Come on back up.
The tree was never a discussion with the paper company. That was just something that was noted, so not even any. And as far as drainage and things, if they want to do something about drainage, they're at the end where we are, but I don't believe they voted yes for the or so. I don't think that's going to change. And if people are voting no on it, how are we going to make this work? But as far as the actual structure of the road, it's going to be exactly where it is now. Not going to be any wider. It's going to just move the existing and put down new.
Okay. Any more comments on this? Okay, we had a motion, we had support. Further discussion of council? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. And this is to schedule it November 7th for a public hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, moving on. 7B, discussion, take action if appropriate to approve a proposal from Progressive AE to conduct a traffic study on North Shore Drive, North Shore Estates Road, and North Shore Road. Craig?
Over the summer, we've been getting comments from residents along North Shore Drive about vehicles traveling too fast. The city council directed staff to get a quote for doing a traffic study. That proposal is in your packet. Mr. Lamori has worked with the city a number of years. He's an expert in this field, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to help us find an answer to this.
Okay. Yeah. Tim?
I'd like to make. How's that? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we do not spend any more money on traffic studies based upon the letter that we received from Mr. Lamori. At the end, he says he would not, even based, no matter what the speed survey results, he would not be making any, it would be highly unlikely that Progressive would be recommending any vertical traffic calming measures. That's speed bumps, speed pillows, speed tables, etc. I see this as a not a wise use of public funds. I do have a solution that I would like to bring forward later on, if possible, pertaining to this issue. But at this point, I'm going to recommend that we do not approve the proposal from Progressive A&E to conduct a traffic study on North Shore Drive.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes, Rich?
I share Councilman O'Donnell's concern with the fact that those are major streets, according to the proposal, and that no vertical traffic calming measures like speed humps, speed pillows, or speed tables would probably be recommended. Craig, what exactly would Progressive be recommending to us? Did they give you any idea?
No. He has to do the traffic study and he'll come up with his solution or recommendation.
So essentially, they're probably just going to come in and give us a report like Mr. Ainsworth does about how many vehicles are speeding and what the speed is and that type of thing. But they can't recommend, or they're saying here they're not going to recommend speed bumps or pinch points or anything like that.
Right, but he's going to look for other potential traffic calming measures through his study. And what those other traffic calming measures are, we don't know until he does a study.
Craig, were you able to find any more information on, speed cameras. Maybe a good way for some extra revenue for the city and slow people down at the same time.
Checked with the sheriff's department, they're not permitted in the state.
Your Honor,
Yes.
council meeting, last time or maybe 2 times ago, Councilman Montgomery had recommended or asked that we provide some relief immediately to the citizens. And I don't think anything has been done except for the fact that we're planning on potentially doing a traffic study. What would council think about doing additional enforcement with the sheriff's department and putting more manpower out there?
Yeah.
If I may respond to that, I think that our sheriff's department's doing an excellent job with their enforcement. But I also have a recommendation, something that could possibly, even as a temporary fix, would be to put at the corner of Sunset, or the intersection of Sunset and Lakeshore Drive, make that a 3-way stop. That way, it does not damage or interfere with our roads. It does not interfere with emergency response. It will essentially do the same measure as putting some, slowing the person down. And also at that, putting in corresponding crosswalks with the appropriate warning signs at that, and that would be, I'm sure we probably got a couple stop signs we can put up that we already have purchased. So I would like to make that recommendation at this time.
And where is that? Sunset and where? North Shore Road?
North Shore Road, at the intersection of Sunset Drive and North Shore Road. That is right where the North Shore Drive, yes. North Shore Drive.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
There's, from what I remember, there's 6 access points, crosswalks essentially across North Shore Drive. Is that right, Craig?
6, yeah.
Okay. And we're concerned about chewing up our new roadway. I cross the bridge to Grand Haven several times every day, and they put up those little, they put up rumble strips, but they also put up the little pylons, and they move them around to wherever they need to be. Is that something we could put in the roadway at the crosswalks as well to signify that, hey, there's something here in addition to signage? The yellow pylons are about that big around and 4 foot tall, and they move them to direct traffic. Well, we could conceivably put it in the middle of the roadway where those crosswalks are.
Have special signs that you can put in a crosswalk and saying stop when the pedestrian's in a crosswalk.
Yes.
We're just thinking
I'm just-
anything to move a little bit forward.
We need to do something to provide the citizens some relief now, rather than getting a traffic study that's gonna tell us, no, we can't do speed bumps and we can't put in concrete pinch points or something like that. Additional sheriff's patrols, you know, would not be opposed at all to having 8 hours a week extra out there, or whatever it takes to provide the citizens some relief now.
Yeah. Well, I've been at Ben's house a couple times, and of course there's speeders up and down that road the whole time. So we know it is an issue. You know, I maybe would suggest stop sign at the corner of Maryland and North Shore Road, and also Cambridge is another one. So that's a couple options. There's
Done tomorrow.
Yep, there's already a speed monitor there, but the vehicles don't seem to pay attention to that, because that's in the northbound side over by Maryland, I think.
Your Honor?
But yeah, I agree with some kind of temporary relief, because you know there's going to be some relief with winter coming up and not as many people going to the North Pier, the North Shore Marina, yes, but there's still going to be a lot of traffic back and forth on that road.
Your Honor, one of the things that I would consider with the additional sheriff patrol would be, in the city manager's last report to council, we had a citizen complain about speed on Parkwood Drive. And I drive that every day because Dogwood it's a detour for Dogwood presently. And that's a residential street, 25 miles an hour. I've been passed on Parkwood because I'm going 25. I figure you got to set an example as a citizen. And we have a speeding problem, not just on North Shore or anywhere else.
Right, correct. We have a lot of speeders all over town.
I will check with the sheriff's department on that. There's gonna have to be a traffic control order that has to be approved by city council, but I can review that with the sheriff's department.
Okay, Your Honor, can I make a motion that we put,
Well,
stops?
There's a motion on the table right now. Is there been a second for that?
To not approve it?
Correct.
Yep, Tim made a motion to not approve the traffic study.
Support.
Okay, motion support. Further discussion on that. Hearing none, all in favor of not supporting traffic study, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
can we, as far as the traffic study goes, this one's gonna take 4 to 5 weeks anyways, and we voted it down, but you know, it may be prudent of us to relook at this in the spring when traffic is moving. I think it'll give us a skewed view of traffic either way. And maybe look at a couple other companies. Maybe they have some creative solutions that is concerning that, you know, they put in their bid that they'll do the study for $7,000, but there's nothing they're gonna do. So,
Okay. Yeah. Dennis, you want to come up first, and then we'll take the doctor.
Dennis Cron, 18968 North Shore. So just a couple of comments. I'm glad that you did not proceed with the progressive proposal. I think that one major issue that jumped out at me was that the Sheriff's Department conducted a fairly thorough speed survey in July, the height of the season, and to do another survey in the off-season, I'm not sure how valuable that would be. Certainly there's still speeding going on, but the critical crunch is in the summertime. I was concerned about the caveat about it would be highly unlikely that they would recommend some sort of vertical measure that would force drivers to slow down, and not necessarily slow down to the 25, but if we could get 40 mile per hour to slow down to 30, you know, I think most of us would be happy. I handed out tonight a memo about that I found from an engineering company in Indianapolis, and they talked about some things that they normally address, and I compared them to what is possible on our little bit more than half a mile of North Shore, and there just isn't any room to do much more than a vertical measure to slow down. There isn't enough room to do a chicane. There isn't enough room to do a median and to keep the travel lanes and the paved shoulders that we have for pedestrians and cyclists. So I think that without knowing the reason why up front, that they would not really consider a vertical measure, I'd suggest there is enough time. We've got some time over the winter to check with other engineering companies to draft a request for proposals and to address specifically, I think it would be easy for the firms to understand this is a fairly unique situation. There isn't a lot that can be done, and let them express how they feel about vertical measures or other measures that Pete just didn't talk about. And I can certainly forward some contacts that I've had to Craig if you are inclined to do that. He also mentioned about perhaps why he wouldn't recommend that was because of the emergency responses. I provided you a memo about just a sample year, I picked last year, and there were 27 responses. And 5 of them were for an alarm malfunction at the same place. So it isn't a major activity, and I've also recently talked with the operations manager for North Ottawa Ambulance and with Mike Olthoff, your fire chief, and he said, you know, we recognize, we know what's going on out there. We know what hazards the speeding presents to people along the street. And he said they're both were very willing to work with you and staff to come up with a solution. They didn't rule it out just point blank. So I think that's encouraging. The more people who are willing to work on it, I'm sure that the Sheriff's Department personnel and Grand Haven DPS would be probably willing to spend some time because that impacts their community also. And then just to note that last week I sent you a memo about comparing our situation on North Shore with the other major streets that benefit from a separated path. And again, the point there was that there just isn't a room out on North Shore to do that. And I know that both Grand Haven looked at that option before the street was repaired 2 years ago, and no one was willing to tackle that one. You mentioned earlier about crosswalks, and just to clarify, on the lake side, the subdivision has 5 walkways, 15-foot wide walkways for people on the land side to get to the lake. They aren't marked as crosswalks. So really, there are side streets on the east. There's Piney Point, Sunset, Cambridge, and Maryland. I'm not sure that legally, Craig will have to check this with the Sheriff's Department and with the Uniform Manual about traffic control devices, whether there's not an existing sidewalk on the east side. There's not an existing sidewalk on the west side. Can you create a crosswalk? That would help, I think, if it were marked, but again, whether that's possible. I caution you about the stop signs. I think somewhere in that 45-page document that I gave you a while back, there was something about, boy, you just can't throw up a stop sign to slow people down. And the state police frown on that. I'm certain that all of the engineers would say, you know, it's not productive because people will go through it. They'll stop 1 or 2 times and they'll see that they don't have to, and they'll go right through it. So I'm not sure that that's a long-term solution. If it's possible and people are willing to try it, certainly we could see what happens. And then finally, Craig said that speed cameras were not authorized in Michigan. They might not be authorized for giving speeding tickets. I think that they could be authorized and to generate letters to people. And there's a whole bunch of information about, I think it's Brampton, Ontario, suburb of Toronto. They have a slew of cameras on streets, and they generate letters which have been effective according to those reports. So if it turns out that there are limited options to do something structural with the street itself, then certainly doing some more research on the cameras might be productive. Not necessarily enforcement, but if you go through there, 5 times in a month, and you get 5 letters about you were going 45.
Yeah, and so I got this. Actually, they have speed cameras in New Orleans, and I lived down there for quite a while. So they do. It's not. You're correct. It's not it has nothing to do with the police, right? They went to court and essentially found that they can't issue you a traffic violation that can't affect your insurance or anything like that. But it's a municipal fine or an ordinance violation or some sort of a fine that way, right? But anything will help at this point.
So I'll just end by thanking you for tolerating my communications with you, and I know that they're lengthy, but it's very important for our neighborhood.
In your best dream, what would you like to have happen? What would you be happy with?
Well, from the research that I have done, and I think that the installation of a series of speed tables, and these are the longer ones that rise 6 feet, and there's a 12-foot flat stretch, and then they decline 6 feet. That the literature says that those are gentler. People still slow down to the 85th percentile. It's easier on bigger vehicles. Probably would be easier on fire trucks, the few times that they would have to traverse them. I think that shows the most promise for being effective. And I think probably if they were permanent, asphalt or concrete, that would probably be better, because there is speeding off season too, through the winter and whatnot. That's where I would really need help with someone who is better versed in how fast cars go and how long the progression is from speeding to slowing and so forth. I would think that a minimum of 3, certainly if they were effective and more were needed, they could be added. And the other point is, other communities in Michigan have these. Ann Arbor has a number of them, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, East Grand Rapids, and there are variations to accommodate fire trucks. Some of them are, I would consider risky if you have a speed table on one lane, not on the other, and then you go 50 feet or 100 feet, it's in the other lane. Okay, so the fire truck ambulance can do a zigzag. Well, how about Bill when he wants to head to the marina? He might do the same thing if there's not another car coming in the opposite direction. It could be considered. The other is what's called speed cushions, which East Grand Rapids does a lot of, and that cars in the travel lane would encounter them, but there would be a gap roughly in the center of each travel lane, so that if the fire truck is heading south, they could straddle the center line and not encounter the hump. It would not be slowed down. Again, nobody's coming. I motor through and I take the center line. So anyway, I think that it's worth pursuing just because you've seen the memo tonight. What happens if somebody gets hit with somebody going 40 miles an hour, even 20 miles. With that, unless you have more questions.
Okay, thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Doc, you want to come on up?
Nick Petrangelo, 19212 North Shore Drive. Good news, bad news. Heard some very positive things tonight. Good news side of the equation. Just to identify those walkways, we live on the non-lake side. There's a lot of people that rent there, or families visit from out of town. These drivers don't know what the walkway is. We do, we live there. At least identify that, paint a yellow line, whatever. Number one. Number two, there's a gentleman here last meeting about take this passing strip off, for God's sake. I mean, you want it 25 miles an hour. You're encouraging people. That's a real simple way of doing things. Another simple thing is, because the vast majority of that road is not on your back, it's on Grand Haven's back. There should be a lot more cooperation with Grand Haven, because they're just getting up to speed, Ferrysburg. You want to see what they do in Grand Haven. You'd be shocked. The other thing, now the bad news, and I'm not trying to make this melodramatic. Let's be realistic, right? On Maryland a couple of years ago, I had to live with it. There was a drug house. A drug house. Got it? Deliveries, shortly after deliveries, kids would come in. Saw the drugs in the driveway. Ketamine was one of the drugs. It's an anesthetic agent. Okay? Nobody did a damn thing. Now, I'm not indicting anybody. This was reported to the police, reported to the town. This was a drug house. All right. With that in mind, you don't have to feel sorry for me. I lived through it. But it brings your sensors up, and you're going to think I'm crazy, and that's fine. There's more than one person who thought I'm crazy. What you're seeing, I am guessing. Now, Ben has been a great observer in saying how many cars break the speed. I've seen people go down that road under the cover of darkness. I get up 3:30. I do a lot of different things. That's when I can think. I've seen cars go down that road in excess of 90 to 100 miles an hour. You hear what I just said? My guess, and they go down at that speed, 10, 15, 20 minutes later, they go the other way. I was a commercial fisherman at Gloucester, Massachusetts, right 200 miles offshore. You know what they did out there in the waters? They exchanged drugs on boats. Now, you don't have to quote me on this, but I would be very high. Why would somebody go down that road at almost 100 miles an hour and 15, 20 minutes later go back the other way, 100 miles an hour? There's something going on at the marina, is what I'm trying to tell you. And in 55 years of medicine, you're trained to think about what possibly could happen. You're not healthy, Mr. Jones. You have some big problems. That is a red flag in my book. You don't have to accept it. And it's not in Ferrysburg. It's in Grand Haven. Somebody's got to wake up here. A lot of drugs come via. I'm not indicting anybody. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. But there's something going on there. And this is not one solitary car. And this is at 3:34, 4:30 in the morning. I'll leave it at that. And I don't mean to be dramatic here, but, sorry? I don't mean to be dramatic here, but I've seen it. our own road on Maryland, right here in Little Ferrysburg, Graston. The delivery truck would come on a Sunday afternoon. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars would come shortly after. Little thing called a cell phone. Rampant. Any questions? And I don't mean to be too dramatic to you, but I'm trying to wake people up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, Grand Haven, you're the minor part of this scenario, this melodrama. They are the major part of this melodrama. They have the straightest part of the road, the longest part of the road, and they have a marina that has a lot of boats. Thank you.
Okay, moving down. Oh. Okay. I need a couple speed cushions myself.
Ben Ainsworth, 19143 North Shore Road. The last time we talked about this subject, we discussed double yellow lines out there. Right away, taking care of the meshes. Second thing we discussed, and I'd like to know if that's been looked into, putting cameras out there. Put a camera on each radar station out there, and I don't know, they're all in, I've been in Florida, they're all over on the corners catching people going through red lights. And as you mentioned, Scott, there's a bridge, Kentucky and Indiana, how they get their revenue is by a camera. Has that ever been looked into, to the possibility of putting the cameras out?
I brought that up to Craig. There's some legalities behind it for a state of Michigan, but we're gonna look into it a little deeper. I'm talking.
Will said that up here.
Sorry. So I talked to Craig a couple weeks ago about it. There's some legalities around it being at the state level with cameras and how you can implement camera systems for traffic. But Craig's gonna look into it a little deeper. We don't know. So they can't be done as far as a traffic fine through the police. Craig's gonna go back and see if there's the ability to look at it as a municipal fine and not have it as a traffic violation, and see if there's a way we can do it that way.
Yep.
I agree. I think that would be a decent solution.
Yep. And Craig, can we put double yellow lines on the road, or no? Is it possible to do that?
I'll look into that.
He's gonna look into that too. Okay, let's move on. Where are we at? Item C, discussion, take action if appropriate to confirm city manager's appointment of Amber Shaner as city clerk treasurer effective October 18th, 2022. Correct?
So we accepted resumes. We did some interviews, phone interviews. We did some in-person interviews. The interview team consisted of Sergeant Jake McKellar, Public Works Supervisor Matt Schindlebeck, and myself. We did an in-person interview for 5 people. After those interviews, we had a discussion, and the position was offered to Amber.
Okay. You guys have questions for Craig at all, or is Amber here today?
There she is.
Oh, okay. Why don't you come on up?
I'm just curious, Craig, because there is a residency requirement. Did we have any applicants that made it to the interview process that are residents?
Yeah, I think we got one resume. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, one resume.
But didn't get to the interview point?
No.
Okay.
Hello, Amber
Hi.
Shaner, 1141 Carr Road, Muskegon. I am honored to be here today. I've looked forward to meeting you all since Craig and I spoke and he made this offer to me to work with you in your city. Just to tell you a bit about my history, I've been in the world of business for 18 years. I graduated from Grand Valley State University with a Bachelor of Business Administration with a dual major in Marketing and Management. I've been working in the restaurant industry. It's very, very busy. Wear many hats every day, day in and day out. I've managed and oversaw over 80 people at this time. I've worked very close with the owner and operator of the business my entire duration there. I've managed the books, handled the money, as well as handling staff. I like to say I go into work every day knowing what I'm going to be setting my goals on and trying to accomplish, but I get pulled in many directions. I'm very much involved with community. I have been a varsity soccer coach for 12 years at our local high school. I coach club and youth levels as well to be a part of the community. Along with my job and using that platform, I've created fundraisers to help local schools and other local fundraisers or small groups and chapters. I have also I run a car show that runs May through October once a week. When I started there, we averaged about 50 cars a week, and I've helped the car show grow. We average over 100 cars now per week, and I've brought in different charities from the local community to increase their knowledge of, or increase our patrons' knowledge of what they have going on. I'm just very much honored to have been considered by Mr. Bessinger to be a part of this small city. Being from a small town myself, it's nice to have that personal touch and get to know everybody you're working with. And that's a bit about who I am, other than on a personal level. I'm very active and mother of 2 boys, and we have an active family, camping, hiking, and so on and so forth.
You guys have questions for Amber since she's here?
I have a question.
Okay.
We're at a very critical stage in our election process right now. And do you think you can be up to speed in time for the election?
Very much so. I'm sorry, are you done? I don't want to cut you off. Okay, very much so. Since Mr. Bessinger has extended this offer to me, I've been very diligent and in conversations with him. I've already scheduled to take the courses in October to be ready to be a certified electoral official. I've been reading and doing literature after work, after hours, in order to be prepared. And I've attempted to start the courses so that I could be ready. I know I'm coming in close to the finish line.
This is always a lot of information coming in, education-wise, not just the elections, but the treasurer and the clerk. And are you looking to further your education in as a clerk and becoming a certified clerk and that?
Very much so. That is one of the perks of, or one of the ideas of this job that intrigued me the most, that I explained in my interview, is the opportunity for personal growth in my own career path as well. I've been in this, like I said, the restaurant industry, and there's a lot of growth. There's always tables turning, something going on. But this is now going to allow me to take the next step in a more professional manner and continue my own growth.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Amber? Nope, I guess not. Thanks a lot for coming here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Your Honor?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we confirm the city manager's appointment of Amber Shaner to the city clerk treasurer effective October 18th, 2022.
Yeah, can you come up to motion?
Support.
Yep, motion support. Now further discussion. Does council have any other further discussion? No? Okay. Jeffrey?
So if I could and so the introduction to my application kind of has a cover letter that I think is really important because it kind of enshrines my experience in both the legal framework, which I think is important to have a background in law experience, because when it comes to this position, you need to be familiar with not only how laws affect the city clerk position and the treasurer position, but also be able to understand the changes in the law as they come through. That's what I've been taught in my education at Arizona State University in my business law major. I also graduated magna cum laude, again, top of my class from the W.P. Carey School of Business, which is a top 30 business school, and the Sandra Day O'Connor School of Law. So again, my name is Jeffrey Knoll, 15075 State Road, Spring Lake, Michigan. I'm interested in being considered for the city treasurer, city clerk position for the city of Ferrysburg. I have over 20 years of professional work experience that includes 7 years of management, 4 years of sales, and 3 years of IT. I am the former director of sales and operations for Grand Valley Marine. We actually used to own a marina right across the bay there, right on Jackson Street. We're right down at the end there. It's a family-owned operation that we've had for, goodness, almost 50 years. My grandfather started it, John P. Knoll, and then handed it down to my dad, Jeff Knoll. And we also used to own the Nunica Marina, too. That was owned and operated by John T. Knoll, so his son, junior, senior. And so I'm proud of my, not only my family heritage, but we have roots in this community that run very deep. And since the pandemic happened, I moved back to Michigan, first opportunity I got. I've been responsible for Grand Valley Marine's operations for over the last 3 seasons, and this includes all aspects of accounting, management, taxes, human resources, marketing, sales, and many other responsibilities, including hiring and terminations, including compliance, because we do have compliance in regulatory environments we do have to abide by when it comes to title work, when it comes to financing. There were many aspects of that job that I think are very parallel to this position. However, this position has ended because of labor and economic pressures on the business. It's been very difficult for my dad the last couple of years to own and operate this entire operation. The economic pressures with the boating industry starting to come in the decline due to an oversupply of people exiting from their luxury goods, which has basically made it not as cost competitive to buy a new boat compared to a used boat. So my dad has decided to retire and exit from the industry, and since then I've returned to business consulting. In this position, I'm currently doing compliance work, such as permitting and licensing at Agathon Solar down in Spring Lake. It's a brand new business. I work there 2 days a week, just helping them get up to speed with the laws, getting their compliance, their permits, their licensing, everything in order, so that way the business owner can actually take action on the things that are being presented them, from continuously moving not only at the federal level but also the state and local levels, because they have, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act, there's been a huge increase in the investment in solar, while trying to make sure that his customers are able to access those grants, or is basically the focus is to make sure that we reduce the customer's costs as much as possible. Teaching him how to understand how the law works and different languages inside of that was really important for him to be able to take actionable items that are presented before him. And I'm able to do something that would normally take 5-6 days a week. A business owner himself would have to do it 5-6 days a week, and I've condensed it down to 2 days a week because I'm very efficient in how I approach my responsibilities. And that's in Spring Lake. So I do accounting, banking, compliance, and title work for Linden Sports over in Coopersville. So even though I do 2 days at Agathon Solar, I'm also working over at Linden Sports in Coopersville. Again, this is my community. This is home to me. My accounting experience goes as far back as being a financial analyst for U.S. Foods. I was a gross profit audit administrator for Avnet. I was a sanctions analyst for American Express. I was a BSA AML investigator for JP Morgan Chase. I was also an external auditor for Pivotal Payments. They're now known as Nuvei. I was responsible for the accounting work at Grand Valley Marine, now at Linden Sports. My management experience goes back to 2007, even at Papa John's. I worked my way up from delivery driver to shift leader to assistant manager to general manager, and then back down to delivery driver, where I went over to Movie Gallery and became an ITSM, which is an interim training store manager, and I was all over the country. While I was at All Copper Products, I was responsible for the entire North Phoenix territory in Arizona. Later was responsible for managing hundreds of markets across the United States for Grubhub as the executive online sales. I have managed teams as small as 3 and as large as 240. Lastly, I graduated from magna cum laude from Arizona State University. It is a top 30 business school, majoring in business law. In addition, I graduated top 5% with honors from Granite Community College with an associate's degree in business administration and another in economics. In total, I have over 21 credits in business, mathematics, accounting, finance, and statistics. I'm interested in this position for the exact reason I moved back to Michigan, to use the skills, knowledge, and abilities that I have learned over my education and the last 20 years of professional work to serve the community and improve the lives of Michiganders that call the Lakeshore home.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Noel, we appreciate your persistence.
Try.
Craig, you and the panel interviewed 5 applicants. We had 40 applicants or so?
30.
30 applicants. And was Mr. Noel one of the 5 interviewed?
No.
Okay. Recommendation is to hire Amber Shaner.
That's correct.
Okay. And we have a motion and a support on the floor that we could move on.
Correct. Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Jeffrey at all?
Hey, I mean, it sounds like you're very highly qualified, but I have to put my faith in our city manager. And if he's made the decision to hire Amber, that's kind of the way we have to go, I think.
Anybody else have anything?
Just to echo that, we don't hire anybody. He hires them.
I've been dealing with Craig for a little bit, and I kind of got railroaded, so that's why I was like, I gotta try.
And I'm impressed by your qualifications,
Yep.
but we go with his recommendations.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jeffrey, for coming. We appreciate it. Yep. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. D, discussion take action if appropriate to waive the residency requirement for city clerk treasurer Amber Shaner.
Motion.
Second, support.
Okay, motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. E, discussion take action if appropriate to appoint city clerk Amber Shaner to the election commission.
So moved.
All right, motion
Support.
and support. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. F, discussion, take action if appropriate, approve updated bank signatories, adding Amber Shaner and removing Rita Fowler Bierman.
Support.
Your motion?
Motion.
Motion, Rich?
Sorry.
And then Debbie had support? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, G, consideration for adjournment to closed session to conduct the evaluation of city manager performance, 2021-2022. Roll call vote, please, on adjourning to closed session.
We'll need a motion first, please.
Oh, yep.
I'll make a motion.
Motion first.
Support.
Motion, support, further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Sias.
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kate.
Yes.
Mayor Blease.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we're closed session. See you guys later.
Thanks for coming in, Amber.
Welcome, Amber.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Mr. Quick.
We gotta turn that off, Craig.
Great chili.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes, please.
yes, please.